and welcome to another session of On the Field, the show that connects you with football players, coaches, and leaders that are dedicated to helping young football players succeed on the gridiron. I'm your host, Ryan Hicks, and today I am joined by Patrick Gallagher, owner and head trainer for Pure Athletics, a speed and core development for athletes that really want to excel in their sport. I have been working with Patrick and his staff for more than 5 years, and most of my stretching, core development, and strength and conditioning drills that I do in my development series come from his program. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't we start with a little background? How did you get started in the athletic development industry?
Well, I got a degree in sports medicine from Sacramento State University, and I got my first job up at Eldorado Physical Therapy up in El Dorado Hills. And from being the head trainer at Oak Ridge High School, I had kids coming to me looking to improve in their speed and development. And from there, one thing led to another, and I started Pure Athletics.
Why do you think Pure Athletics is different from any other training program that you've seen?
I would say the main thing is our attention to detail. It's not just about putting kids in front of drills, it's about teaching kids how to move while doing those drills. I think that's what sets us apart from anybody in the area.
I know from experience that you work from kids from 6 or 7 years old all the way up to the NFL. What makes what you do work for all those different types of athletes?
Well, whether you're a 6-year-old or whether you're getting a full scholarship or you're playing in the pros, one thing has to constantly be worked on, and that's movement patterns. So when they're 6, we work on teaching the movement patterns and continue to groove those patterns as they grow older.
Can you compare a training program for an elementary school athlete to a middle school or a high school athlete?
The difference there is, again, more about attention spans. With the younger kids, we put them in front of drills. We don't ask for too much. We just want to lay down some basics. And then as they grow older and get into some of our more advanced classes, then we'll demand more from them, teach them more, they can understand more, and we can put it more into action.
So since this show is focused on the youth, what process must they go to be able to get their body ready to go compete?
Well, I would say the number one thing is laying down good, proper movement patterns first. Teaching kids how to move. Because of lack of PE in our society, we see a lot of kids that just don't know how to move. And so in order to develop an athlete and to give them something they can grow on for the rest of their career, it's vitally important that we teach kids how to move first, then we get them stronger and get their mechanics down, and then we watch that happen and continue to work on that year after year.
Does this program change for different sports?
The root of our program doesn't change. Because we work on linear speed, lateral speed, explosive first step, every athlete needs that in every sport. We might add certain things to their sport that is more specific that they need, but that's really a very small portion of the program that changes for each sport.
What's the difference between strength, conditioning, and speed development?
Well, strength is just how much force the body can create, and that can be seen many different ways. Conditioning is a topic that has many different meanings. Most people, when they think of conditioning, they think of how in shape they are to play the sport. That could be their ability, their aerobic capacity to handle the rigors of the practice. We like to think of our conditioning as we're conditioning the body to move and to become more efficient and to handle the changes of direction, the changes of motion. And so that's kind of how we do our conditioning. And the last one was speed. Speed, we really don't teach speed. And that perks up a lot of ears. But we look at speed as something that we see. But the way to teach speed is actually to teach kids how to move their body in a very efficient manner. And then also the other component there is how to teach the body how to be rhythmic, full body rhythm. And if you get those two down, then the end result and what parents and coaches and spectators see is a really fast athlete.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that young athletes make in their preparation?
I would say one of the biggest mistakes they make is, number one, is the need to get bigger for their sport. In young males, we see this a lot. Young males have the feeling that they have to get big, strong muscles like the pros and be all bulked up to play their sport. And every kid that I've seen that has made that a priority actually gets slower, because it's like if a kid puts on 10, 15 pounds of muscle and they don't know how to move it, it's like putting on a 15-pound backpack and trying to run sprints. And so it's not that important. It is important to have good, strong muscles, but if those muscles don't know how to move and control the body and explode, they actually become a hindrance. The second thing that we see is when kids think about getting ready for their sport, they end up hitting the street and running miles. And unless you're a middle or long distance runner in track, there are very few sports that have you run more than 5 or 10 or 15, 20 yards at a jogging pace. So my point there is most other sports, or almost all sports, are very explosive. So it doesn't make sense to go out and run miles and become an endurance athlete and then step on the field and be asked to be explosive. So I think that's a big mistake where kids, they can get in cardiovascular shape, but their body is in no way prepared to play their sport on the first day of practice.
I really like the fact that you use motivational stories and examples to give us the mindset that we need to succeed in sports. Can you give the audience an example of that?
Sure. Attitude is everything. You can be strong, you can be fast, but if you don't have the proper mindset, the proper attitude of competing and confidence and camaraderie and a good positive attitude, then most kids, if they don't have that, then their career will be very short.
Can you name some of the athletes that you have worked with that have made it to the pros?
Sure. Starting with probably Austin Collie, probably the best known athlete to go off from BYU. He came from Oak Ridge High School to BYU and then to the Indianapolis Colts. Had a great few years with Peyton Manning. Ryan Anderson, who went to Cal and then from there played with the Orlando Magic. He's having a great year a great career in the NBA. Then there's FP Santangelo, played for the Montreal Expos, the Dodgers, Giants, A's. Shea Tutu is now with the Chargers, and then most recently now we've got Garrett McIntyre. He went to Fresno State. He plays starting outside linebacker for the New York Jets, and then we have numerous athletes, male and female, at many different Division I schools as well as Division II and Division III schools.
Do you think that this training program is necessary for an athlete that wants to be recruited by a D1 school?
I'm not sure if I would call it be necessary, but is it beneficial? Definitely. There's a lot of different tests that the schools will be looking for instance, the 40-yard dash, the pro agility, the vertical, and we spend a good amount of time teaching athletes how to do those tests. Just like in the combine you see for the NFL, there are certain ways you can run a 40-yard dash. There's proper ways to do it that can make it more efficient and therefore get a lower time. Same thing with the pro agility. Some of the movement pattern, all the movement pattern stuff that we do will obviously transfer onto the field where they can make the plays they're looking to make, and therefore they have game film that the colleges will look at. So when you ask the question, is it necessary? It all depends on the athlete's athleticism. If they have hidden talent that they don't know how to tap into, we'll help them do that athletically. But obviously we see many kids that have gone on to the next level through raw talent. So we just really help kids that are on the cusp. We can definitely help them get it to the next level where they might have a chance of getting a college scholarship if that's in their future.
What advice would you give to parents of a child that wants to become great at sports?
Make sure that they love playing the sport, and make sure that they're in that sport for their own desires and not the desires of the parent. I've seen many athletes who had the skill to play the sport, too much pressure from the parents, too much pressure from friends and family, and they end up just burning out before they even get to the college level. So I would say the number one thing is that they really enjoy and they're passionate about playing their sport, because just like anything else, passion is what drives their ability to take it to the next level and to stay in there and keep the work ethic up so they can actually succeed if they do in fact get a scholarship.
Thank you very much, Coach, for coming down here and being on this show.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully this gives you an idea of how you can lay a solid foundation for any sport that you want to play. If you live in Northern California and you have an athlete that is serious about their sport, I recommend that you reach out to Coach Gallagher and check out Pure Athletics. I have developed the confidence to look forward to every contest. I go into each game with one thought: let's compete.